Today, thousands at the Democratic National Convention are getting things started this morning. The First Lady expected to bring the speech for tonight.
And heavy rain is already racing towards parts of the area. Umbrellas up for a saturated Tuesday. We're talking weather next.
Your water, your fish, you clean it. Your concern, not mine.
Florida homeowners dealing with one big smelly problem this morning. Piles of dead fish left behind from Isaac's aftermath.
Live from the WTXL studios, this is ABC 27 HD's Sunrise.
Thanks, Charlotte. The stage is set. Thousands of people in Charlotte, North Carolina at this hour preparing for the kickoff of the 2012 Democratic National Convention. WTXL ABC 27's Greg Angel is in Charlotte with a sneak peek inside the Time Warner Cable Arena, where Democrats are hoping to make history again this week.
Good morning, Abby. Here inside the Time Warner Cable Arena, you can see some final prep work underway. In just a couple of hours, they will officially kick off the 2012 Democratic National Convention here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thousands of people in town for this, including more than 5,000 delegates. We've got some local delegates here as well. Those delegates from Georgia are going to be seating right here, right over my shoulder, and right in front of them are going to be the delegates from Florida. There's a number of caucuses taking place this week. We're going to be hearing about a number of issues, and we're going to be talking about that here as the days progress here at the DNC. Now, coming up a little bit later tonight, again, final prep work, sound checks, lighting checks. Coming up tonight, we're going to be hearing from San Antonio Mayor Julian Castro. He's delivering the keynote address, and tonight we are also expected to hear from First Lady Michelle Obama. All the coverage starting tonight on WTXL News at 5. For now, reporting in Charlotte, North Carolina, at the site of the 2012 Democratic National Convention, Greg Angel, WTXL, ABC 27, dedicated to you.
And it's not just Democrats descending on Charlotte, North Carolina this week. Republicans are crashing the party too, just like the Dems did during last week in Tampa during the Republican National Convention. Democrats will look to highlight President Obama's first-term successes, but the GOP will be asking, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Leading that discussion, Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus, he says having former President Bill Clinton at the convention will actually help Republicans. We spoke with our political analyst, former Senator Bob McKnight, to find out how he feels Republicans will react to Clinton's speech. Take a listen.
They're going to suggest that President Obama's successes are very meager compared to to Clinton's. And the point they're going to follow up and make is, and further, Clinton's successes were largely the result of President Bush #1.
Former President Clinton has spoken at 6 straight Democratic conventions. This week's speech on Wednesday will be his 7th appearance in 24 years. And you can find complete election 2012 and convention coverage on our website, WTXL.tv. You can also watch behind-the-scenes video coverage from the DNC anytime by liking our WTXL Tallahassee Facebook page or following us on Twitter at ABC27. Well, in our continuing coverage, Thomasville residents and members of St. Thomas AME are heartbroken over the destruction of their church. The more than 140-year-old facility was demolished Sunday after suffering structural damage. WTXL ABC 27's Marq Liverman explains what members are now doing to preserve history.
I know that I could keep my head held up high because no matter what, I came from this church. I came from this family that took pride in our church.
Catherine Gartrell says she has been a church member at St. Thomas AME since she was born. She's just one of nearly 150 congregation members. And as the dust begins to settle, each member reflects on its amazing history and what's left behind.
To look at these is actually a symbol of hope for us, because it will remind us that there's nothing that we can't do.
Church historian Melanie Hill says of the few artifacts still intact, these 5 Bibles, one nearly 110 years old. Hill says early on, affording a Bible was a luxury.
You're talking about a time when black people being able to read, who at one time were not even allowed to worship without the presence of a white man, having a Bible was not necessarily the thing that it is now.
Hill says the church was founded on prayer, 144 years ago, Hill says many members were illiterate and couldn't even read the Bible, but faith pulled them through.
Our faith has to be strong, and these Bibles are books of faith, and so we will turn to them for hope.
Hill says while this building is now a memory, the foundation of this congregation holds strong. Mark Liverman, WTXL ABC 27, dedicated to you.
And if you want to help out in any way, call 229-228-6038. Turning now to news across Florida, another whale that was part of a pod of 22 pilot whales stranded at Avalon State Park in St. Lucie County has died. The juvenile whale had been at Florida Atlantic University's Harbor Branch Institute for rehab since Saturday. Officials say the male whale died around noon Monday. 4 other juvenile pilot whales brought to the FAU facility are being treated for infections so they can continue their rehab at SeaWorld Orlando. Eventually, experts want to release the whales back into the ocean. The rest of the pod died of natural causes or had to be euthanized. Well, Florida homeowners dealing with the aftermath from Isaac say it stinks. Flooding waters have receded, leaving behind dead-end rotting fish. Chuck Weber shows us what happened Monday when one group of neighbors complained.
1 or 2 are still flapping in there.
Louis Dixell shows us the dying fish and many more already dead, littering the roadside here on his street in the Loxahatchee acreage, which is still drying out from last week's flooding.
Here. That's how much water we had on our property.
Dixell and his neighbors stranded for 4 days, now mobile again, but dealing with dead fish.
We're standing here right now and it just smells.
I can vouch for the stench. Dixell called the county.
Their response was they don't have enough manpower out here to clean it. Is your responsibility. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a taxpayer. It's not my responsibility, nor do I know what to do, how to clean this.
The county had said a hired contractor is collecting dead fish along canals. Elsewhere, up to residents to take properly bagged dead fish to one of the waste drop-off locations. Dixell concerned because his son and other neighborhood kids head back to school, and many walk right through here on their way to the bus stop.
It's your creek, your water, your fish, you clean it. Your concern, not mine.
As we prepare to do a noon report on the fish, a work crew arrives and starts picking up all the dead fish.
We're doing everything we can to help.
Nick Urin of County Engineering explains many roads and canals here are built on easements, so it's not really clear who should be responsible.
But we want to get the fish out of the area so that we can get rid of any health issues.
I saw all these trucks outside. I came flying out of the house and I says, oh my God, the fish is getting cleaned up. I want to thank Channel 12. And I want to thank the guys out here cleaning up.
And that was Chuck Weber reporting from South Florida. Residents say there's still a little bit of dead fish smell in the air, but at least the fish are gone. Sean, could you imagine having all those fish in your yard, let alone having to deal with everything else along with Isaac?
Anchovies, anybody? Ugh. Ugh. And just the pictures alone. Glad we don't have smell-o-vision yet, but this century is young. Who knows what's going to happen later on. We do have some heavy rain to talk about. Very unsettled, saturated, soggy day ahead. Umbrellas up, and it will lead to a flood threat, especially across South Georgia. We'll get you out the door with a Titan HD radar tour and talk about, well, an eventual change in our weather pattern coming up next. Stay with us.
Hey, Greg Angel with producer James here at the 2012 Democratic National Convention. We're in the Oval Office. Okay, not really. We're actually in an exhibit called the Presidential Experience, but it allows you to walk inside the Oval Office and also inside Air Force One. Come aboard. We'll take you inside by going to our website at WTXL.tv and checking out the behind-the-scenes vlogs from the 2012 Democratic National Convention.
For sure.
Of course, but there's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Cooler numbers and lower humidity.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Sean. Well, coming up next on WTXL ABC 27 News at Sunrise, the controversial book that details the death of Osama bin Laden hits bookshelves today. Next, why the anonymous author's cover has been blown. And a popular peace parade turns deadly, killing 2 and injuring 2 others. Well, here's what's coming up next on WTXL ABC 27 News at Sunrise. Recent shootings around town prompting local clubs and bars to take action.